to the Wellness Transformation Journey podcast. I'm your host, Pamela Peters. In the last episode, I talked about what the 1% rule is and how it can help create a sustainable wellness lifestyle. The idea of the 1% rule is that you build on your progress from each day by 1%, which adds up over time to create success. In this episode, I'll discuss how to start shifting your mindset from quick, large expectations to small, manageable ones. Also, I will talk about implementing the 1% rule in your own life using personal experiences. As I've talked about before, traditional weight loss approaches urge us to make major changes all at once. We live in a society that tells us that if you're not successful immediately, then you won't be successful at all. We also live in a society that associates a person's size to almost everything about their lives. As you go through your journey and make changes, don't just focus on your weight. Focus on your overall mental and physical health. I cannot stress this enough. Early in my journey, and in other attempts to lose weight and sustain it, I thought cutting a ton of calories and making a lot of changes all at once would allow me to reach my goals faster. I also thought that focusing mostly on exercise and limiting adjustments to my diet would work. For a period of time, it did. Actually, on one attempt, I lost over 150 pounds. This took me over a year to do, but there were two things I ignored. First, I didn't focus on making adjustments that would last long term. 1 year sounds like a lot of time, and it is, but my diet was more of a yo-yo diet, and through most of the program, I felt miserable because I was just cutting a ton of calories one day and then I may make up for it another day. I wasn't equipped with the tools to sustain long term. I really didn't understand what a healthy diet was, or at least how a healthy diet could work in my life. Second, I didn't work on my mental health. So I was dealing with several issues that began to impact me more and more. I was a people pleaser who didn't want to say no or disappoint anyone. I listened to negative talk and was often afraid to stand up for myself when people put me down. I was also dealing with other issues, which I talked about in an episode on mental health, because I did not have the tools to support my mental health when things got tough, and I wasn't equipped with establishing regular healthy eating habits when things got off track. I gained some of the weight that I had lost back. Actually, I gained quite a bit of it back. Then, when things got really bad, I put weight on, I developed some bad eating habits, I lost weight. I was really in this position of I wasn't sure what I was going to do. Eventually, I was able to plateau and somewhat control my weight, but it wasn't sustainable because I did not have healthy eating habits, and I was doing things that I should not have been doing in my diet. Because I didn't have the tools, I eventually burned out. When I started my wellness and weight loss journey in 2021, I was at a point where I realized I needed to establish healthy habits. Otherwise, I was going to develop an eating disorder, make myself extremely sick, or I was going to completely regress back to where I started at 400 pounds. I wasn't fueling my body right with food. I didn't know how to control the stress in my life, and I felt unorganized, unenergized, and I was not happy. I realized it wasn't just my weight, it was my overall well-being. Using the 1% rule, I found that small, consistent modifications to my daily routine and diet left me more energized, and I was less frustrated. I learned to make small daily improvements that focused on my mental health and physical health, along with nutrition. Using the 1% rule can feel useless at first because it takes time to see progress. But when you focus on daily improvements, you're setting yourself up for success. It becomes a habit. Instead of focusing on the scale, you measure daily outcomes based on your ability to stay consistent. If you get off track for a few days, it's not like you can't adjust and keep moving forward. Ultimately, you're making a psychological shift in the way you think about your diet, wellness, and lifestyle. In using the 1% rule, like many other areas of your wellness journey, you have to determine how you'll implement it in your own life. As I previously stated, the 1% rule can be used in many areas of your life. It's up to us to decide where we want to or where we need to see improvements. I'm going to share some examples of things that I did, and hopefully it will help you on your own journey. As you begin to lay out your plan and adjust, remember that this is about building your habits and not jumping in too fast. Don't worry about what other people are telling you to do unless they're professionals trying to guide you and have experience in helping others. Let's start with improvements in nutrition, because we're looking to make improvements steadily and not all at once. Pick one or two things to focus on at first and then build on them. Add new areas to build on as you get comfortable with the ones you originally started. Don't start with too much at once so you can work on developing habits. Examples of things I did to get started or implemented at some point in my wellness journey are: first, I started by adding a fruit or vegetable to at least one meal a day. It sounds easy, and it really was, because I like fruits and vegetables. But more importantly, it was healthy. Now I have a fruit or vegetable at almost every meal or as a snack. Another thing I started doing to start my journey was to increase my water intake by a glass or two a day. This worked because I wasn't drinking enough water to begin with. Drinking more water not only is good for the body, but it can help you eat less at meals. If you aren't well hydrated, we may eat more. It's kind of like a filler in the stomach, but you can drink too much of it, so be careful about your water intake. I also wanted to focus on lowering my portion sizes and eating out less, because one of my biggest issues was how much I ate along with what I ate. I used to eat out 3 or 4 times a week and often ate large portions. I started by cutting back on eating out by 1 day a week and progressively cut back over time. Now I eat out once or twice a month on average, sometimes less than that. I had the ability and option to do that, while others may not. There's other adjustments you can make if that's not an option. It has saved me quite a bit of money, and slowly my cravings for takeout have been reduced to rare. Even when I ate out, I would work on cutting how much I ate. For instance, smaller fry portions, having a smaller wrap, or cutting or exchanging one item for another that's healthier. Along with this, I also started taking a tablespoon or 2 out of meals I would eat at home from what I would normally eat as a portion size, and cut back to more sustainable sizes. For a while, I even started measuring or weighing my food to make sure I was eating proper portion sizes. Another option is swapping out processed food for whole food if you can afford it. I understand that due to grocery prices, this may not be an option for everyone. Do what you can. Maybe start by buying a bushel of bananas and having one at breakfast or at lunch instead of fries or bacon. Canned fruit is another option, and there's nothing wrong with eating canned fruit if that's the only option you have or the most affordable option. I tend to look for fruit that's packaged in water instead of heavy syrup. If you can afford more fresh fruit or vegetable options, then try using them. Another option is frozen fruit or vegetables. If you want to go the more fresh route, seek out seasonal fruit and vegetables. They tend to be more affordable. For instance, I find blueberries tend to be more affordable in the spring and summer when they're in season. It's your diet and budget, so do what works for you and what works for your wallet. You can adjust as things change. Other ideas is maybe add a few extra grams of protein to each meal. It helps fill us up, but don't overdo your protein intake because our bodies can only digest a certain amount of protein at a time. Extend your meal time by 2 or 3 minutes. This causes us to eat slower and be more intentional about what we're eating, which will help fill you up longer. Think about it. When you eat fast, do you still feel hungry after a meal? I know I often do, and the first thing I usually do is go find a snack or pick at something. Lastly, something I get stared at a lot for in the store, and I really don't care, is I read food labels. You don't have to do this with everything all at once. It can feel a little overwhelming. Start with a few items and see if there are alternatives that may be healthier. Maybe they have lower sodium, lower calories, higher protein, more fiber. Determine how the macronutrients in the item will support or not support your journey, and then maybe switch it out or find something that's a better alternative or add something that's a better alternative somewhere else. Now let's move on to movement. There are many ways to improve your movement. I'll go deeper into this in later episodes, but here are some ideas, and they don't have to be focused on extensive exercise. First, you may add 100 or 200 steps a day to your base count. We often hear that 10,000 steps per day is recommended, but there's no set rule. Get a base count of what you normally do, then work from there. I started at 7,500 and build up. Now, after years, I keep a base goal, except for rest days, of 15,000. I haven't increased this in almost a year because there is a limit on how much I should be doing, especially now that I'm run training. Another option is to extend your workout duration by a minute per session. Again, get a base and then work from there. Everyone is different. As you get deeper into your journey and adjust your goals, this will most likely change for rest days or specific training, like I said for me with my run training. Along with this, you could increase the intensity of your movement or workout by 30 seconds per session. For instance, when you go for a walk, speed it up for 30 seconds, then build it each day by a number that works for you, even 1 to 5 seconds a day or 30 seconds a week. Other ideas include adding a flight of stairs to your daily routine or adding a hill to your walking route. I would suggest doing this progressively. Depending on the height of the hill or the number of stairs, you'll want to adjust for what works for you. Another option is to decrease how long you sit by 5 minutes a day. This can be difficult to calculate, but one suggestion I have is to get up and walk for 1 to 5 minutes every hour or every other hour, then build up. Obviously, this will have a limit, but even starting with 1 hour a day outside of your intentional exercise period is a start. Also, you could add a new body weight exercise each week or month when you go to lift weights. Another area that most of us could use work in is sleep. I go through periods where I have to refocus myself to control my sleep because I still struggle with this. Sleep is essential because it helps our body recover from exercise and supports our digestion. Lacking sleep can also cause stress, which can lead to overeating and struggles with physical and mental health. My sleeping habits were horrible before starting my wellness journey. I knew my sleep played a role in my health, but I often ignored it or didn't see it as important. When I started focusing on my sleep, other areas of my health improved. I noticed when I don't get enough sleep because it can have a big impact, especially in my exercise routine and my stress level. It also plays a huge role in my mental health when it comes to certain issues I personally deal with. I started by going to bed 5 minutes earlier each week and then started adding waking up 5 minutes earlier each week. I alternated. It took a little longer than a week to get adjusted at times, but now I have a pretty standard routine of going to bed at 9 p.m. and waking up around 4:30 or 5 a.m. My body notices when I break this routine. Another thing that I found very effective was reducing my screen time by 1 to 5 minutes before bed each week. This took time, but watching television or using a smartphone before bed can impact our sleep cycles. I don't always follow the television portion of the rule, but I try to put my phone down at least half an hour or an hour before bed. This took a lot of work to do, and I still get off sometimes and still have to work on this one. Other things to consider as you work on your sleep is to journal a few sentences before you go to bed, just of your thoughts or how you feel that day. This helps with focus and mental health. It can also relax your body. Adding a minute or two of deep breathing each week before you go to bed can relax the body and the mind. It takes time to learn this, but it can be well worth it. Similarly, adding meditation at some point during the day, starting with a few minutes, can help relax the body and mind, which ultimately helps support sleep. Implementing the 1% rule takes time, which is literally what it means. You're building 1% at a time. It gives us the ability to build steadily and lets our bodies and minds adjust. The first days or weeks can be frustrating because we may not see or feel the results, but staying consistent will eventually change over time. As you're implementing this, your support group can be very useful during this period. As you implement it, keep reminding yourself that the best is coming. This is practicing for your future. It's going to take time, but if you keep working at it, you'll keep moving forward, you'll keep progressing.